Welcome to the Blessed Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Raykel Tolson. This podcast is here to help you experience being blessed that transcends a mere hashtag. Now, I'm going to add my disclaimer. I'm not a preacher, prophet, or Bible scholar, but I am a God-worshiping, Jesus-loving, Bible-believing, New Thought Christian who believes that God blesses us according to our faith and how we work his principles. So if you're ready to be encouraged, enlightened, and entertained, then you're in the right place. I'm broadcasting on WYTV7 Christian Broadcasters Network, a nonprofit charitable organization that radio broadcasts with the mission to empower, encourage, and educate. If you are being blessed by the Blessed Podcast, then please donate at www.wytv7.org. And today's broadcast is still sponsored by Tolson Publishing. We have a new shirt. God is good and so am I. It is based on our new children's book, not Lorenz, that's my son, but Ren's affirmations, God is good and so am I. So get your t-shirt for you, and your children, not just for children, but for you and your children. So today it is the month of May, and we are celebrating moms because it's Mother's Day and May is about moms. Not just a day, a whole month. We deserve a whole month. 9 months of carrying a baby or 9 months or 18 years of raising a baby. We deserve a whole month celebration. So we're celebrating moms all month long. And my guest today is, I know y'all gonna say, she always bringing on her family. I can't help it that Tolson's, we got it going on. We doing big things. This is my cousin, Torey Tolson. And I'm going to read a little bit about Tory because she's got so much going on. Tory is a speaker, an author, a relationship coach, and a talented home cook. She is from Zachary, Louisiana, currently living in Ohio. But she just came out with her first cookbook entitled A Way to a Man's Heart, Food, the Sixth Language of Love. That's really cool. We're going to talk about that a little bit later. But the reason why Tory is on today is because Tory and my cousin Larry have a 3.5-year-old son, Xavier, whom they adopted. And they started off as foster parents. So we're going to talk about being a foster mom and an adopted mom. Welcome, Tory.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Raykel. This is great. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate it because I always need some, people that's going to help me to convey my message of being that blessed is a mindset. And I think that you do that because, we can just talk about it. When you and Larry got married, the kids were always on the table. So tell us about that.
Yeah, my husband is divorced, have been married 10 years, only had a stepson, and I am quite a bit younger than him. I did not have any kids at the time. It was going to be my first marriage, but going into it, when we started dating, we definitely talked about that. We wanted kids and we wanted to start a family, but we wanted to really, get to know each other. And so we got married about 4 years to the day of, meeting.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
Because he actually brought you to the family reunion, and y'all, the Tolsons have a family reunion every other year. And my sister, she came up with this brilliant idea. I don't know how brilliant it was, but she came up with this idea to put an underline under if you were not a Tolson. That was you weren't born into the family or married into the family. You had an underline. So anybody that brought their significant others who were not married, they all had underlines.
Yeah, so it took me, pretty much 3 hours to figure out that there was something different about my name tag and that you guys were basically interviewing me at that time frame. And now, we've been married 8.5 years now.
Yes, and we love you. We loved you when we first met you, though.
Right.
We love you. You just needed to underline so we understood that we needed to really get to know you.
Right. So we always talked about that, we were going to have kids. Mm-hmm. And so in 2015, I think it was, We weren't necessarily trying to have, children. It was about, 4 years into the marriage. But we found out that my husband had cancer. And so that kind of, puts your faith in the test. And then you think, whereas all of this, we had all of this time, now, do we really? And so, we just kind of consulted with doctors, and we just said, hey, this surgery he's about to go into, what will that mean for starting our family? And how much time do we have to decide? And so he said, that was maybe in October. And he said, try on your own for right now, but I wouldn't go much past January without making a decision about surgery. And so we tried on our own and just saw that it wasn't happening. So we went to a fertility specialist and went through all of the conventional methods of having things frozen and all of that, and just said, after the surgery, we would, utilize what we have in the sperm bank and see what we could do after that. So went to a specialist, now since we can't do it the conventional way, and talked to them, and they said, well, let's do a bunch of tests and see if everything about me was okay to go forward. And they found where there was a uterine fibroid that showed up on the scan. And they said, hey, we only have a few chances at this. Let's go in and do a surgery to remove that, fibroid. And then we know we'll have, optimal space and room for a potential baby to grow. So I went under the knife for that surgery. It was supposed to be a 2-hour-long surgery. It ended up being about 4.5, 5.
Oh my gosh.
Because they had to come back out into the waiting room and tell my husband Lawrence that the golf ball size fibroid that they thought was 1, when they moved it to the side, there were actually 28 of them.
Oh my gosh.
So this turned into an extensive surgery. So then we had to wait, longer to recover from that. Our first procedure after that was an intrauterine insemination, which did not work. And so but this guy that I was going to, this specialist, was 2 hours away from me. So you're talking about 2 days a week. I was driving 2 hours after work to get to his offices before it closed. And, and then I had to disclose that to my employer, because that meant I was taking off early to get to the, to the office and that kind of stuff, which gave me, kind of a sense of embarrassment, not thinking of, how many people go through this every day. But it just, it just felt like I was in it alone, because it's something that people don't talk about.
And you know what I was about to say, because I've had somebody else, and people don't talk about it, especially in our community.
Correct.
I think we just don't talk about fertility problems.
Right. Yeah. And so I found a new specialist that was closer to home and closer to my job. And I went to them, and of course, the first thing they want to do is they have to start a whole new workup. Even though they got the files from the other doctor, they wanted a whole new workup. When he did a whole new workup, he said, you now have scar tissue that is formed from the previous surgery. We're going to have to go in and clean that up before we can talk about any other options. So I said, okay, yeah. So I said, okay, we'll do it. We went in and we did that surgery. It went okay, it went routine. And then what that got us started for is to consider IVF. IVF is very expensive. And so, one of the things that I had to do was my husband and I had to sit down and say, we have to live after this. So before we get too, emotionally attached and into this process, how many times are we going to do this? Right. And so we agreed we were only going to give it one shot. And so it's about $25,000.
Oh my gosh.
Cannot give back. Right?
For one time.
Yeah. So we went in, we were able to harvest about 4 eggs. Only 2 of them took. We put the 2 back, but they never attached to the uterine wall. So that was disappointing because along with that money was about $4,000 to $5,000 in just drugs. You know, that shots, I had to take 4 shots a day, you know, pills, that kind of stuff on a clock, on a schedule. Many times my husband would have to give me the shots because it was just too difficult for me to do for myself.
Right.
And yeah, I had to drink a lot of Gatorade and water per day. So I felt bloated, you know, all day. And then you have the, you know, the people in your life that just don't know what you're going through,
Right.
you know, with the insensitive comments of, girl, you gaining weight, you know, and it was just being bloated from the medicine and the drinking of the liquid and all of that. So it was really difficult. And even though my husband was there every step of the way, you know, it still wasn't the comfort that I was looking for, you know. And so we got through that process and it didn't work. And so then we had to think about what other options do we have? And so that's when adoption came into the picture.
Okay.
And someone, a friend of ours, actually a local newswoman that Lawrence talks to, had used an agency here in the city and just gave them raving reviews. And so we set up an informational meeting, went to talk to them. But sometimes the way private adoption works is that you have to create this binder of what your life looks like, you know, and tell stories about who you are as people and show pictures of your life and your house and, you know, what fun things you do and if you have pets. And coming out of that process, it was going to be another many thousands of dollars. And it felt like I was buying a child. So not to discourage anyone from going through private adoption.
I get what you're saying. It just, you felt like you were buying some, and then we've watched stories that I mean in the news
because they can still change their mind. Right. And the agencies present a book of you, and the birth mother can decide that she doesn't like how your life looks in pictures, and so she doesn't necessarily want to interview you. So it didn't work for us. It didn't feel comfortable for us. And so that was a blow because it originally my husband wasn't interested in adopting. And it went back to the, you know, misconceptions people have about adoptions that, oh, you know, something may be wrong with the child with some, you know, disabilities or behavioral issues or, you know, learning issues or just.
And I think a lot of times because people think if the people didn't want the baby, then something must be wrong with the baby. People didn't want it.
Correct.
But they don't realize that a lot of people give their children up for adoption because they want better for their children, that they actually do love
for a better life.
And they want them to have a better life than what they can offer. So these are just precious children, the people are just looking for them to have the right home. Yeah.
Correct. And so we went to an informational with Children's Services because we have a cousin who works for Children's Services. And we were at, you know, his family reunion, and she said, hey, you know, I work for Children's Services. Have you ever thought about, you know, adopting through Children's Services? She says there's a caveat. They don't let you do straight adoption anymore here in Ohio, but you can foster to adopt. And so that brought on a whole new set of, you know, fears. And yeah. And so we went to the informational. And then we sat down and talked about it. And the one thing we, you know, kept coming back to, Raykel, and you know, this is just how your thing about being blessed and staying faithful is that, you know, how some people come up with pros and cons. And when we thought about it, if the object was to be parents, then who cares what way we go about it? And I'm actually tearing up because I have not like really talked about this story out loud, probably ever.
It's a great story, and it's a story that people need to hear because I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who are in the same situation because a lot of times we have been conditioned, you know, when you think about the fertility stuff, most of us, we want, and we've been taught to have our kids after we go to college, after we get a job, after we do all that stuff. But no one tells us, hey, your fertility doesn't go to you 80. I know that there's a story in the Bible that happened, but that's really not the case. And no one tells us this. We have always been taught as women, I feel, go to school, get an education, get a good job, be able to take care of you and whatever kid comes along before you have a kid.
And that's what we thought we were doing. You know, we were beyond grown, you know, in careers, you know, married, you know, doing it the right way. And then you just kind of feel like time is robbed from you. Right. And so we kept coming back to, if the object is to be parents, then why does it matter, you know, how we become that? Right. And so fostering to adopt, you know, came with a whole other set of parameters. And one thing that I brought with me to show you is that, you know, when we became foster parents, we had to live by a binder, this binder. This thick.
That is a thick binder.
Yes. It had everything in it from how your house needed to be ready for fire escape, how your house needed to be ready for if a tornado came. We had to have, we have an upstairs home, so we had to have a portable ladder that could be pushed out of an upstairs window. We had to have fire extinguishers on every floor. We had to have papers on the wall with the evacuation plan, with the layout of how our house was built. You know, banisters, they would come in every month, and there's a fire detector above me. They would come in with this fake smoke and spray the fire detectors to make sure that they were in working order and went off. They would flush every toilet to make sure it was working, check our driver's license to make sure it was valid. It was really
How many months did that happen? How many months?
How did what?
How many months did you have to go through that?
Oh, so we had to do a home study, which took about 3 months. So they came into our home and sat with us about 3 hours each visit to assess, you know, whether they thought that we would be prime candidates for fostering. There's the application, background checks, financial forms. There's a lot that goes into it, and it kind of leaves you with the taste in your mouth, like all of these deserving children that just need somebody to love them, you know, and you feel like they put you through so many hoops. Now, you know, you also hear horror stories about, you know, people who, didn't do right with this. But I also want to, you know, go through the misconception about people are fostering to get rich. There's not a lot of money that comes, you know, with fostering a child. It definitely, you know, wasn't enough for a month of grocery or, you know, full-time daycare or,
right,
you know, clothing and all of that. So it is not a get-rich scheme in fostering, but there's so many kids out there that are deserving. I'm just thankful that we end up having such a great coordinator that was assigned to us, and who knew, you know, what we were looking for, and you know, age range and race and all of these things, and so she was kind of the advocate for us, to kind of let us know and call us when children came into custody.
Right. So you know what, our time is really going by fast. So I want us to fast forward.
Yeah.
Till you're getting the baby.
Yes. All right. So our coordinator, funny story though, our coordinator called us on a Wednesday, and my husband was out of town at the time. And she said, hey, you know, what do you think about becoming parents this weekend? I'm like, this weekend? And she's like, yeah, I have a baby for you. She says, but one small glitch. She said, he's not born yet. And she said, he's going to be born Friday, and we would like to bring him to you on Sunday. And I'm like, OMG. So my husband wasn't coming home until the next day. So I waited. I sat on the news. I waited till I picked him up from the airport and said, what do you think about being a dad this weekend? And he was like, wait, what? Huh? What? You know? But at the time, I didn't know, what sex it was, what he was coming with, what type of milk.
Right.
So I didn't buy anything. He ended up being breached, so they kept him an extra day. But on Monday at 4 p.m., they brought him home from the hospital at 3 days old. And he has never left. So it took us another year to gain legal custody through the foster care system.
Right.
And then we retained our own lawyer and then went back through the courts to petition the court for legal adoption. And that just became final in December of last year.
Nice.
But he'll be 4 in July.
And he is a Tolson. And
he is a Tolson. Yes.
he is a Tolson.
Yeah.
And he acts like a Tolson.
He will tell you in a minute that his name is Xavier Keon Tolson.
Yes, I love it. Your story is awesome. And as a publisher, Tolson Publishing is always looking for stories like that.
Looking for some stories.
You can put it.
Let's talk.
I'm a Tolson, so we gonna talk. But I just want to say, Happy Mother's Day. And when you think about like the 9 months that people go through, you went through more than 9 months. Even though you didn't physically carry a child, you had surgery in preparation for a child. You had 2 surgeries in preparation for a child. So you got the same kind of cuts that a lot of other people have. You think about this now. I'm like, the steps that you went through, in my opinion, not everybody has to go through this, but some of the steps that you went through, it feels to me that it was like he was still getting you mentally ready. So you were going through the pain, you were going through all the stuff that everybody else has to go through. And then the process that you went through, your child should feel loved. When you show me that big binder, I might have been like, I don't know. Is he really worth that? But y'all went through that. You went through the 3 months. So any child, when they see what their parents go through, it doesn't matter that he wasn't birthed through your body.
Right.
There was a process that you still went through.
Yes.
Get him.
And so amazing. Where our thoughts are right now is that because we live in a world that's so, technology and social, everybody in our life knows the process of how he got here. So, our conversation now is, just in what is the age that's appropriate to actually tell him, he's adopted, because I don't think we can get past that, given in the times that we live, and everybody knowing that he's adopted.
Right.
He is biracial, so his skin color, his hair texture is a little different. But you cannot tell that child that we are not mom and dad, and nor would I want him to feel that way.
Right.
But one day when it's appropriate, we really want to just kind of sit down and explain to him that this wasn't a mistake. We chose you.
Yeah.
We chose you. And how loved you have been from the very beginning.
Yeah, and I just, we only have 2 minutes left, but I really, the whole thing, is that you're blessed.
Yeah.
And you could have gotten to the point where you were just like, it's not going to happen for me. It's not God's will. And that's just not the case.
Yeah.
A lot of times we use God's will as an excuse not to do the stuff that we need to do what we want. Because the desire of your heart was to have a child. That was the true desire.
Yeah.
It was not to go through 9 months of pregnancy and go through sometimes 9 hours of agonizing labor.
Yeah.
Who really wants that? Nobody. What we want is the child, and you have that.
Right.
And so you kept your mind stayed on on what you really wanted, on the true desire. And you got that, and God rewarded your faith. He rewarded you for believing in the process and the trust in the principles, because you did all of that. You trusted the process, you trusted the principles. And not only did you get a child, but you got a baby, a newborn.
Yeah.
Like a newborn.
Yeah.
So, God is so good and so awesome. And I don't want to let the time end without you telling us a little bit about your book and your relationship coach. We're going to have you back on so you can really talk a lot more about it.
So this is my cookbook, A Way to a Man's Heart, Food, the Sixth Language of Love. So my tagline for that book is, Sunday entrees that say love without opening your mouth. And it is my true belief that food is what binds people together and binds families and relationships. And, you think about it, every emotion you go through in life, most center it around, birthdays, Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Family food. And so that's why for me, food is a sixth language of love, because it goes along with, the acts of service and the affection and, and the words, of affirmation. And so each recipe has not only an affirmation with it, but it also has a sentence or two about how to set the mood for the evening. So I think sometimes food and cooking can feel like a chore to people, but I try to construct this book to where it gives you some suggestions on how to bring along your mate in helping you with those meals or helping them feel included in those meals so you're not alone. So, for instance, one suggestion says, a lot of people have a killer, spaghetti sauce recipe, right? Mm-hmm. Well, you know what goes in it and you know how to make it your perfect sauce. But instead of just doing it, why don't you call your mate downstairs and, take a spoonful and have them taste it and ask them, babe, what do you think it needs? It doesn't need one other thing, but they will appreciate you including them and asking them and seeming like you want their opinion, mm-hmm. On what you're fixing. Mm-hmm.
That sounds really interesting.
Say, hey, babe, I'm thinking about cooking something, special for you tonight. Are there any special requests? Most people have a recipe or something that their grandmother or their mother made that they really love. Find out what it is and learn how to make it. So I think food really is a connector in relationships. And so that's what my, cookbook is all about.
And I love it. The artwork is awesome.
Thank you.
It's awesome. Where can they find it?
So you can find it on ToreyTolson.com, and that's ToreyTolson. And I have the books out there, and it's also on Amazon.com. But the good thing about getting it from ToreyTolson.com is that I can sign each copy that goes out the door, and I don't charge you shipping on my website. Oh. Amazon is a business; they're gonna get their money, so they're gonna charge you that shipping, and it's not personalized. Mm-hmm. So go out to ToreyTolson.com and check that out. I also have some custom aprons out there as well.
Oh, cute. And are you still doing the Facebook where you do the?
Yes. So you can like my page, which is Torey Tolson on Facebook. Once a week, I do a cooking tutorial. I call it Fast and Fancy because everything is 30 minutes or less, but it looks restaurant ready when it's complete for a fraction of the cost. So
nice.
we just did some lamb chops, for Easter. I just got finished with a chicken with a garlic cream sauce on it that we did last weekend. I did a shrimp and chicken teriyaki just a little while ago for some friends. We did a Zoom cooking tutorial. So you can also contact me through ToreyTolson.com if you need something specific that you want done. So it's been fun, and trying to do that on top of being a mother, a full-time worker, it's been a challenge, but cooking is fun to me, and it's my outlet. So it doesn't feel like a job.
Well, you are amazing. And that baby of yours, the two of you all doing this COVID quarantine, and you calling him your co-worker and your chronicles of all the stuff that is going on with you guys. It is just amazing. I am so glad that you and Larry stayed the course, and went after the desire of your heart.
Yeah, I appreciate you allowing me to tell the story.
Family, and he is awesome. And you just be there to help other people. So if women are going through it, maybe they can contact you on Torey Tolson and like that. I know that's not what you do, but you never know who may hear this and they want to talk to somebody. So I'm putting it out there. ToreyTolson.com is out there. So you may get somebody contacting you about something else too.
Yeah, and my Twitter handle is the same. My Instagram handle is the same. And also my email address is Torey.Tolson@ToreyTolson.com. So yeah, I welcome that. There's so many misconceptions about adopting and fostering. I would love to help anybody, any woman, any couples. Larry and I would be glad to sit down and talk to them and tell you everybody's story is not the same. Not saying that other people haven't had, roadblocks and struggles and gotten burned some kind of way through a process. But I think you just have to go back to, do you want to be a parent and is that going to be something that's going to enrich and bless your life? Then we can help you kind of find a way to get to that point.
Well, thank you for being on. That is our time for Blessed this week. Hey guys, remember what God has done for Tory, he can do for you. You just got to believe it. And you just got to go after the desires of your heart. Until next week, be blessed.